The most merciful thing in the world, I think, is the inability of the human mind to correlate all its contents. We live on a placid island of ignorance in the midst of black seas of infinity, and it was not meant that we should voyage far. But someday, the piecing together of dissociated knowledge will open up such terrifying vistas of reality and of our frightful position therein, that we shall either go mad from the revelation, or flee from the deadly light into the peace and safety of a new dark age.
The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening was released in 1993 for the Nintendo Game Boy. Featuring a compact world and story, memorable characters, and a quirky tone, Link's Awakening is one of the more popular games in the series. According to the game's director, Takashi Tezuka, it was directly inspired by Twin Peaks, a popular show at the time of the game's production that also had a compact world and story and had dreams as a major theme. He wanted to make something that, while it would be small enough in scope to easily understand, it would have deep and distinctive characteristics. But if we're talking about deep and distinctive, we must talk about the unintentional similarities between Link's Awakening and the works of H.P. Lovecraft, father of the cosmic horror genre. A lot of his stories themselves were inspired by dreams of his own, and dreams are a big part of his mythology. But although at first you wouldn't necessarily compare the darker ideas of Lovecraft to the lighter, happier aesthetic of Link's Awakening, under its vibrant and happy exterior lies deep and distinctive, even haunting questions that mirror what Lovecraft's stories ask us. Let me show you the Lovecraft in Link's Awakening.
When I finally found myself adrift and free, I had but little idea of my surroundings. Of the longitude I knew nothing, and no island or coastline was in sight, and I began to despair in my solitude upon the heaving vastnesses of unbroken blue. The change happened whilst I slept. Its details I shall never know, for my slumber, though troubled and dream-infested, was continuous. When at last I awaked, it was to discover myself half-sucked into a slimy expanse of hellish black mire, which extended about me in monotonous undulations as far as I could see, and in which my boat lay grounded some distance away.
The story that shares the most direct parallels to Link's Awakening is Dagon, one of Lovecraft's first stories. It tells us of a man stranded at sea who awakes somehow on an island that appears from nowhere. The man falls asleep while Link is caught in a storm. Both awake on an island that appears from nowhere. The island from Dagon could have risen from the sea floor, while Koholint Island, we know, was created from a dream. Dagon also surprisingly features a mural showcasing unknown truths to our protagonist, just like the mural the owl shows us to prove that the island was in fact created from a dream.
Across the chasm, the wavelets washed the base of the Cyclopean monolith, on whose surface I can now trace both inscriptions and crude sculptures. The writing was in a system of hieroglyphics unknown to me and unlike anything I had ever seen in books, consisting for the most part of conventionalized aquatic symbols.
Both of these stories ask us, did these islands even exist? Did the island in Dagon rise from the sea floor for our unnamed character to stumble upon? Was the island of Koholint, us knowing it was created by a dreaming deity, merely an illusion cast upon an unconscious hero? Or did the island exist in our reality? Both stories leave these questions for us to determine.
When I came out of the shadows, I was in a San Francisco hospital, brought thither by the captain of the American ship which had picked up my boat in mid-ocean. Of any land upheaval in the Pacific, my rescuers knew nothing, nor did I deem it necessary to insist upon a thing which I knew they could not believe.
The Windfish is the god of Koholint Island. Encased in a great egg, he sits atop Mount Tamaranch at the very center of the island. In order for Link to escape, he must gather the 8 instruments of the sirens and play the Windfish's ballad, consequently ending the dream that is the existence of the island. Azathoth is the chief deity of Lovecraft's mythology. He sits at the very center of everything and all, put to sleep by instruments of demons, and, though never directly stated, it's believed everything was created through his dreams, and if ever the music stops, he will awaken, and it will be the end of all.
He thought of the ancient legends of ultimate chaos, at whose center sprawls the blind idiot god, Azathoth, lord of all things, encircled by his flopping horde of mindless and amorphous dancers, and lulled by the thin monotonous piping of a demonic flute held in nameless paws. Here the vast lord of all in darkness muttered things he had dreamed but could not understand, while near him shapeless bat things flopped and fluttered in idiot vortices that ray streams fanned. They danced insanely to the high, thin whining of a cracked flute clutched in a monstrous paw, whence flow the aimless waves whose chants combining gives each frail cosmos its eternal law.
This interpretation of reality being created by Azathoth and its destruction if he wakes very much was inspired by a book titled The Gods of Pegana, written by Lord Dunsany, an early fantasy writer who was an inspiration of Lovecraft's. In this book it is told of a god who creates everything, who then sleeps having become weary. But when the day comes when he wakes, he will destroy everything and start again.
When Mana Yutsushe had made the gods and Skarl, Skarl made a drum and began to beat upon it that he might drum forever. Then because he was weary after the making of the gods, and because of the drumming of Skarl, did Mana Yutsushe grow drowsy and fall asleep. Some say that the worlds and the suns are but the echoes of the drumming of Skarl, and others say that they be dreams that arise in the mind of Mana because of the drumming of Skarl, as one may dream whose rest is troubled by sound of song. Time is the hound of the gods, but it hath been said of old that he will one day turn upon his masters and seek to slay the gods, excepting only Mana Yutsushe, whose dreams are the gods themselves, dreamed long ago.
The Windfish directly mirrors this story, the idea of a god creating reality through a dream, and the end of existence upon its awakening. The Windfish is Azathoth, is Mana Yutsushe. The Windfish fell asleep and Koholint was created. When he is awoken by the instruments of the sirens, Koholint fades with his dream. Azathoth will awaken if the music of his demons, keeping him asleep, ever stops playing, and reality will end with his dream. Mana Yutsushe, if Skarl ends his infinite drumming, will awaken and everything will cease to be, except Mana, and he will start again, creating new gods and things. The nightmares keep the Windfish asleep, knowing if it wakes, it will be their end. But it will be the end for the peoples and other things of the island as well. The Windfish cares for none. After the Windfish wakes and Koholint disappears, we see that the Windfish still exists, and he flies off. But who's to say the next time he sleeps, he won't create a new Koholint Island and start again? Near the beginning of the game, when Link retrieves his sword on the beach, he is greeted by an owl. This owl speaks to him, and this conversation is the first time Link is told of the Windfish, and how waking the Windfish is the only way to leave the island. The owl starts Link on his journey and points him in the right direction, periodically arriving to guide Link, and he is the one that leads Link to the mural, revealing that Koholint Island is a dream of the Windfish. At the end of the game, it is revealed that the owl is a part of the Windfish's spirit. The owl may seem like a friend, but upon closer inspection, he shares a relation to Nyarlathotep, the son of Azathoth.
What his fate would be, he did not know, but he felt that he was held for the coming of that frightful soul and messenger of infinity's other gods, Nyarlathotep. Only to taunt had Nyarlathotep marked out the way to safety and the marvelous Sunset City. Only to mock had that black messenger revealed the secret of those truant gods, whose steps he could so easily lead back at will. For madness and the void's wild vengeance are Nyarlathotep's only gifts to the presumptuous. I remember when Nyarlathotep came to my city, and of the impelling fascination and allurement of his revelations. They were horrible and impressive beyond my most fevered imaginings, prophesied things none but Nyarlathotep dared prophesy, and I heard it hinted abroad that those who knew Nyarlathotep looked on sights which others saw not. Hi, Ashanta Naig, you are off. Send back Earth's gods to their haunts on unknown Kadath, and pray to all space that you may never meet me in my 1,000 other forms.
Nyarlathotep is the messenger of the gods, making sure their will is enforced in their absence. But unlike the others, he enjoys interacting with humans. He offers forbidden knowledge and takes whatever forms he needs to better achieve his goals, and we are but toys to him. Manipulation, deceit, and deception are what he is best known for. If you are one to believe the interpretation of Azathoth dreaming reality, Nyarlathotep wishes to wake him and end existence. Why? The motives of cosmic gods such as this are beyond our understanding. A point of Lovecraft's works. There exist answers not meant for human minds. The owl in Link's Awakening is much like Nyarlathotep. The Windfish wants to wake, but cannot by himself. Whether it was the action of the Windfish or just pure chance, Link washes ashore on Koholint Island. The owl, messenger of the Windfish, and the one who would interact with the island's inhabitants, discovers Link on the beach after finding his sword. He speaks to Link, telling him of the Windfish and promising him freedom from the island, telling him the only way to leave is by waking the Windfish. The owl, carrying out the will of his creator, manipulates Link. He makes it seem like he's helping, but really is using Link to get what he wants. The owl is a creation of the Windfish, like Nyarlathotep is a creation of Azathoth. The owl and Nyarlathotep both serve their sleeping creators, both turn to manipulation to achieve their goals. As part of the Windfish's spirit, the owl could hypothetically take any shape, but the form of an owl would be an unassuming form, one that would not arouse suspicion at first glance to ulterior motives. He is the guardian of the island, the one who acts while the Windfish sleeps, making sure its will is carried out. In a similar way to Nyarlathotep's relation to Azathoth, the owl is the one who provides the forbidden knowledge, the revelation that Koholint Island exists in a dream. The mythology of Lovecraft features a place called the Dreamlands, an alternate or parallel dimension featuring its own lands, peoples, and creatures. This realm is accessible to us through our dreams, by us taking an astral form, leaving our body, and venturing there.
Well do I remember the night of the great aurora. After the beams came clouds, and then I slept. And it was under a horned waning moon that I saw the city for the first time. Gradually I came to wonder what might be my place in that city. I said to myself, this is no dream, for by what means can I prove the greater reality of that other life in the house of stone and brick where the pole star peers into my north window each night?
Polaris is a story about a man who travels to the Dreamlands in his sleep, and becoming more and more familiar with it, loses his perspective of which reality is the true one. Is the dream when he sits alone in his house? Or is it when he's in the mysterious city? What is real and what is not? My final point I'll ask you, if from Link's perspective, the island looks real, feels real, death is real, then could you say that it is real, that it is a true existence? Again, if all of this feels real, then it must exist in the same world as Hyrule, correct? If it is only a dream, then how can it appear as true reality? We know Link and the Windfish are real because they appear after Koholint fades away, but what about the island and everything on it? Was the island really there, or was the cinematic of it fading away meant to symbolize the dream fading? What does that say for Hyrule then? If it's possible to have such a vivid experience, then how can you be certain that what you're experiencing right now is actually reality and not just a dream? How do you know that you're physically watching this YouTube video right now and not dreaming it? If something as real as Koholint Island can be made from a dream, can the same be said for Hyrule, from the perspective of everyone in it? Is the land just the dream of a sleeping god? Or a shared dream of 3 golden goddesses perhaps? What if you accept the dream as reality? You're told it's all just a dream, but it's real enough for you. What if Link gave into the Windfish's dream? He decided not to wake the Windfish, instead defended the village, started a relationship with Marin, lived a full life and passed on. Would that have been a real life if it felt like one to Link? To accept your existence is a figment of someone else's imagination and just go with it. And if he did do that, what would happen if the Windfish did wake? Would everything Link did living his life on the island be a dream? Would it all have happened? Or would he still wake up on the wreck of his ship sometime soon after it capsized, but having seemingly experienced years of an imaginary lifetime? How would Link deal with that trauma? Even if we forget all of that and just go off the events of the game, how would Link deal with the fact the reality he just experienced was not reality, not knowing if he truly was on the island or not? And if the island was a dream, how could he tell if he was still dreaming or not? Was Link's awakening him waking from a lucid dream of a sleeping god, or his awakening to an incomprehensible truth of his existence?
These are the philosophical questions that Link's Awakening unintentionally asks, questioning the nature of what's real and not real, true and untrue, and leading us to the existential horror of not truly knowing the answer to that question. Most of you will play this game avoiding this unpleasant thought, but for those unfortunate, you too might experience your own awakening.